You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hi, Bold and the Beautiful fans. Well, by this Friday, Li Finnegan knows the awful truth about Poppy Nozawa and where she got the swimmers to make her only child. But is it Jack Finnegan who's the daddy or not? It looks like Li's ex-husband is pretty confident in the fact that he did not make another baby. So expect a twist. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we're going to talk about whether there's a huge baby daddy bombshell that Li, Jack, and Poppy might decide to keep hidden so it doesn't explode. But first, if you're not following us, please subscribe. From the moment Li Finnegan began ranting at him this week, Jack Finnegan was already impatient and annoyed. Judging by his remarks midweek, he was kind of hoping that Li had called him to spend time together, just, see each other on cordial terms. It seems like Jack is still low-key optimistic that he and Li might actually reunite. However, I think Finn had it right when he told Steffi Forrester there is no way his mom would ever reconcile with his dad. And then when she asked if Finn thinks Daddy Jack might have cheated with more women, more than just Sheila Carter, Finn seemed to think it was plausible. However, he also said nothing could hurt his mom, Li, more than what Jack did with Sheila. That to me was a huge red flag that something is about to hurt Li a lot more than what Jack did with Li and the Sheila situation. Because she just said this week that despite Jack cheating on her with Sheila, it brought Finn into her life so she doesn't regret everything that went down in the end. But there are so many worse things than that, and we finally found out why Li has hated Poppy for so long. Li really thought Poppy was playing hop on pop with Jack while she was busy doing her medical training. But if you listened carefully, he denied those accusations and reminded Li that he was also gone from the house all the time because he was building his law practice back then. And if you recall the timing, Finn said a year ago in January 2024 that his Aunt Poppy lived with them while he was in college. So Li was always gone. Jack was always gone. Poppy was home with Finn, and he was an adult, presumably 18 or older because he was in college. And another thing to know is that Li said Poppy showed up out of the blue to crash on their couch, and she had not been around Li and her family for years and years and years, okay? I've seen a bunch of people on Soap social media talking about Poppy, being around while Finn was growing up, knowing him as a baby and as a toddler and all that. And that makes the possible twist of them sleeping together horrifying. And I agree if it went that way. I've seen some comments about Poppy grooming him, stuff like that, some really harsh language. And B&B seems to be trying to clear it up and clarify that was not the case. With Li's dialogue this week, she made it crystal clear. Poppy had not been around. She wasn't there when Finn was little. She wasn't changing his diapers. She wasn't babysitting. Poppy was off living her party girl life and then showed up at Li's place after being out of her life for almost 2 decades, I guess, when she had just partied herself out. You remember in the movie Forrest Gump when Jenny got tired of being drunk and stoned and numb all the time and then showed up at his house in Alabama? She slept for a week and then their romance started. I kind of see it like that. Poppy was probably partied out, hit rock bottom, and came to crash at Li and Jack's place. And then there was handsome young Finn, over 18, but still her family, still her adoptive nephew. And it is a totally gross twist, but Bold, I think, is trying to make it more palatable by piling on this dialogue to reassure viewers Poppy didn't know him while he was growing up. It is still gross, but Brad Bell has written things that are equally as gross. And if it turns out that Finn's the daddy, I wonder if it's going to stay secret for a while longer. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. But speaking of gross, sort of incestuous plots that Bold has done, the one that always pops up in my head as just icky to the core is when Ridge was making out with Bridget Forrester. He was her stepdad for off and on for a while. while. And Ridge even thought at one point that Bridget was his daughter, not Eric Forrester's daughter. So that was actually more disgusting than what they're considering doing, it seems, with Finn and Poppy, because Ridge did know Bridget as a baby and as she grew up and all that. So just gross. Anyway, I say this just to make it clear. Yes, B&B would absolutely go there because they have before, and it was icky and they don't mind bringing the ick. Here's the thing. Jack was very clear and very sincere when he said he had never porked Poppy, and she was indignant and denied sleeping with Lee's then husband. So both of them told Lee didn't do it. Poppy was certain, Jack was certain. And when Lee wanted a DNA test, Jack was like, fine. He plopped down in the chair, offered up his arm for Lee to stab, which she did. But did you see the look on Poppy's face? When Lee held up that vial of Luna's blood, I thought Poppy was about to make a poopy right in her pants, because she realized that the DNA test that Lee is running could show an ugly truth she has been keeping for many, many years. If it was just a yes or no test, you're the daddy or not, no big deal, because it would just show that Jack is presumably not Luna's dad. But that's not how most paternity tests work. They're not like a pregnant, not pregnant kind of test. Instead, most standard paternity tests show a percentage of likelihood that someone is the parent. If Jack were Luna's father, he would be a 50% DNA match with her, because he would pass half his DNA onto her and the other half would have come from Poppy. But if that test Lee runs says that Jack is a 25% DNA match for Luna, that means he's her grandpa, because Finn would have 50% of Jack's DNA and would pass half that on to Luna. Just basic math. And here's the thing. Jack, I'm certain, is going to be blindsided if he is any percentage match to Luna, because he didn't sleep with her. And Poppy, I'm quite sure, knows 100% who is Luna's bio dad, and it may well turn out to be Finn. We'll see what happens on Friday when Lee gets the test. Maybe they're building it all up to nothing, but it sure looks like Luna could be Finn's kid. And I wonder if none of the people involved are going to want him to know about Luna, because Lee would be horrified and furious, and I don't think Jack knew Poppy slept with his son, so he should be grossed out too. I actually don't think Finn knows either if he is Luna's dad. Maybe it was one drunk or stoned night of inappropriate passion. Back in January 2024, Poppy told Luna she was born out of love. If so, I think it was unrequited love. If Finn is her dad, I would guess Poppy had some kind of twisted crush on her adopted nephew, and then one night acted on the attraction when they had some drugs, had some alcohol, I'm sure something she gave him, and then she wound up pregnant, then ran off to hide the secret. Here's what I want to know. If Finn is a match as Luna's dad, will Lee demand that Jack and Poppy keep it a secret and never tell Finn? Because Lee would not want her son to deal with the shame of finding out his aunt crawled in his bed and made a baby with him, and Jack would probably feel the same way. It would be traumatic for Finn to find out not only what happened with his aunt, but also that he had a daughter he never knew about and who turned out to be a homicidal maniac. Nothing good could come of this coming out. But if Finn is Luna's father, of course, ultimately it would come out. I just hope on Friday, when Lee gets the paternity test results, they don't leave us with a big cliffhanger and hold off telling us until Monday's episode. That would be annoying. Could happen. And by the way, I think I said here before, I doubt Jack is the dad either way, because he's not staying around. I wish he were. I love Ted King, total silver fox, adore him, but he said he only filmed a few episodes. If it is Finn who's the daddy, that's another reason it may stay secret, because surely Jack would stick around if his only son Finn was getting this devastating news. So those three, Lee, Poppy, and Jack, may vow to take this secret to their graves if indeed Finn is Luna's dad. And of course, Lee might just turn around and kill Poppy, so that would leave just two people guarding the secret, Lee and Jack. Do not miss a moment to see what happens with this twisted plot.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.